Hi guys, back to solving equations. So far we've been solving linear equations like x plus 6 equals 20, and they're called equations of degree 1 because they have one answer, and also the power above x is a 1. What we're going to do today is we're going to solve some different equations called quadratic equations. An example of one of those is 3x squared equals 48, which is of degree 2, which means it has two answers. So any equation which has an x squared in it is a quadratic. If it has an x cubed in it, it's of degree 3 and of course has three answers. Okay, let's have a look at them. So we've got a pretty simple one to begin with. It's called, says x squared equals 25. And what we're going to do is just basically undo the squared sign by taking the square root of both sides. Of course, when you take the square root of 25, you get 5. But there's another answer that will also satisfy that, and that is -5. So we can write that as x can be +5, but it can also be -5, and we can write it like that. Or you can write it as x equals 5 or -5. Let's have a look at the next one. We've got 3x squared equals 75. Don't forget we're trying to undo the steps and get x by itself. So to do that, the first thing I want to do is get rid of that 3. Now in here there's a times sign, so we're going to do the opposite of times and divide both sides by 3. You can see now that those 3's are going to cancel out on the left hand side, and we'll get left with x squared. On this side we've got 75 divided by 3, that gives us 25. And you can see now that it's just like the one on the left. We need to undo that squared sign by taking the square root, which is the opposite of that. And when we take the square root, we can have x could be +5 or it could be -5. Thinking about that, -5 times -5 gives us 25, and two negatives make a positive. Okay, let's try one more of those. This one looks a little different, but thinking again, we are trying to isolate m and find the value of m. The first step we're going to do is put that 12 on the other side by adding 12, doing the opposite of subtracting 12, we're going to add 12 to both sides. That gives us 3m squared on the left and 0 plus 12, which is 12 on the right. The next thing to undo is the 3. Just like we did before, we divide both sides by 3, and that gives us m squared on the left because 3 divided by 3 gives us 1, and that gives us 4 on the right. And our last step, again, taking the square root of both sides gives us m is square root of 4, which is +2 or -2, and there's my two answers. Okay, let's do one more of those. This time it says we're going to solve that writing the answer to one corrected one decimal place. So same steps involved in that. I want to first of all copy the equation. Second of all, I want to put the 88 on the other side by adding 88. And then I'm going to get left with 7x squared is 88, because those negative 88 and that positive 88 is going to cancel out. My next step is going to be to get rid of that 7, dividing both sides by 7. Now here's where you're going to be using your calculator. Get x squared on the left and 12 and 4/7. Now at this point, we get x squared equals 3.54562. We want to write that correct to one decimal place. So cutting it off after the 5 gives us 3.5. The next number is less than 5. So we want to cut it off. Beg your pardon. Okay. So there's the rounded off answer. And I'm going to set you some questions on Compass to do.